Hello, and thank you for stopping by on the Therapist Poetry Podcast, where we meet real people from real life and they share their real experiences with us, their real stories. We're actually about to go and meet a therapist now, so follow me and let's go meet them. Oh, I nearly forgot. If you are moved by their story, then don't forget to let them know and leave them a comment. Don't be stingy and keep all that positivity to yourself. Hello, everyone, and welcome in today, Kirsty. Kirsty is a trauma informed counsellor, and today you're here to share your experience with covert abuse.
Yeah, thank you for having me, first of all. I'm a counsellor for people with developmental and relational trauma. That's mostly abuse in childhood and also in more recent relationships. My main area of focus is covert or hidden abuse, which often goes unnoticed, but it can be deeply damaging in an emotional and psychological sense. I'm currently training specifically in trauma so that I can more work more deeply in that area, basically.
It's interesting because before we started as well, you said you wanted to go with the word covert abuse, and covert abuse is very meaning is that the hidden traumas that go on the emotional side. And it's funny because even the word itself is something that's more hidden.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, domestic abuse is, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I've heard of domestic abuse a lot more than I've heard of covert abuse, which is interesting because it's the kind of thing that we don't want to keep hidden anymore. And I can hear how important that is to you.
Yeah, this is the thing. When I talk about this, most people say the same thing. I don't know what you mean. I've not heard that before. Could you explain a little bit more about it? If you mention domestic abuse, immediately people obviously know what you're talking about, but they typically sort of assume that you mean physical abuse or perhaps verbal abuse as well. But the psychological side of it isn't as well known about, and that's what I'd love to kind of be a part of changing, basically, and raising awareness of.
Yeah, yeah, and it's really important. I mean, as you say, it is easier to hide because it doesn't leave scars, doesn't leave physical scars. It definitely doesn't mean that it doesn't leave scars. It leaves emotional scars. And I can really hear the importance of getting that out there today. So thank you. Um, so I do have a few questions for you, if that's okay. And the first one is, what is one thing that you wish you'd known at the time of the abuse?
I really wish that I'd known myself better, and trusted my own judgment. That's something that I didn't do at the time. I also wish that I'd known more about covert abuse, which, as we've talked about, is quite challenging because there isn't a massive amount of information out there about it.
Yeah,
Um, it can be so subtle that you don't realize it's happening, and that's something that, it happened to me for a long time, and I just couldn't. I knew something was wrong, but I just couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was.
yeah,
The other thing that I wish I'd known is that setting boundaries with people isn't unkind. That was something that I had very much ingrained into me, that if you set boundaries, that means you're being unpleasant to somebody, and I wish that I'd known that at the time.
yeah. And it's funny because our strengths or the things that we think are strengths without boundaries, without knowing that other side, if we've not been taught that other side as children growing up, something like being loyal, great. Everyone thinks that's great, but if you don't have the boundaries to go with that, then loyalty can be very harmful as well. And I can really hear the importance of kind of getting the information out there and how it is subtle and how you don't kind of know what's going on at the time. So doing what you're doing today and things like this can be really helpful to get the message out there. And also, if anyone has friends or anything that they're noticing some changes, then to tell them and to tell them what's okay and what's not. These conversations are okay to happen. Um, the next question is, how has counselling helped you to understand your experience of what happened to you?
It's been absolutely massive for me, and it's been more. at the side of training than it has been actually going for counselling. And the reason being that training to become a counsellor has taught me so much about myself and what I needed to do to heal. Because I didn't actually realise how much inner work was involved in this. As you'll be aware, you have to explore your own triggers and your own wounds in that process. And just from becoming stronger and more boundaried in that process, I kind of realised how susceptible to unhealthy relationships I actually was. Um, so yeah, I think also from specialist training as well, onwards from there in covert abuse, I now understand toxic patterns and like how insidious and deeply damaging that type of abuse can be. But it's taken a lot of work over the last 4 to 5 years, where just kind of deconstructing myself and looking at different patterns using counselling theory. It's been huge learning curve for me.
I can really hear the knowledge that you gained from that, and kind of some signs, helping
Yeah,
looking out for signs of what's going on. Also, that working on yourself, and a real acknowledgement there of yourself at one point being vulnerable to those relationships, to being someone that wasn't boundaried, and how important it was to kind of look at that part of yourself, and
definitely.
really start to trust yourself in that.
Yeah.
And was there any any counselling theory in particular that helped you to?
Yeah, I'd say work around self-concept was a massive thing because you don't realize, I don't think that we all have this self-concept, this way of thinking about ourselves, and we just kind of go with that. I think most of the time we're not always aware of that. And by looking at the theory around it, I was like, oh, actually, that my self-concept needs some work here. And I kind of dissected that. It really made me look back at my own history and kind of why I might have been susceptible to certain behaviour. I think also attachment theory, that was massive, on a similar kind of note, looking at my own attachment style and what again sort of made me susceptible to certain dynamics and not trusting myself. I think because my self-concept wasn't as um, strong as it could have been, it kind of left me open a little bit. So I think looking at certain aspects of counselling theory, it really made me realise, where are my weak spots here? Where can I actually make my self-concept more robust and kind of and become more resilient as well.
I mean, so the self concept involves how you feel about yourself, but also what comes in from others. And
Yeah, yeah.
I can hear how it, with covert abuse, that self concept can really be changed or damaged within that abuse.
Definitely. And I think if you covert abuse can happen to anybody, it absolutely can. But I think if you do have issues in that area, if you've got things that you could work on in that way, somebody who's abusive in that kind of way they'll exploit those vulnerabilities. So you have to be aware of yourself. You have to know who you are and really strengthen your sense of self. That's my interpretation of it.
Yeah. And that kind of leads us on to the next question, which is, what advice would you give others experiencing this type of abuse? So we're talking about covert abuse.
The first thing that I would say is document everything, because it's this type of abuse will get you to question yourself. And if you can write it down and document it, you can go back to it later and just confirm that what happened did actually happen and it wasn't a figment of your imagination. It's really important to do that. So that's the first thing that I would say. Um, as I'd mentioned earlier about self-concept, build trust in yourself. Really work on that and maybe explore earlier patterns in with your family dynamic. and just see if there's anything there that you can kind of build upon. Covert abuse is designed to get you to question your own judgment, so you really have to strengthen that. The people that engage in that type of behaviour can be really unassuming as well, so it's incredibly important to understand what is happening and to make sure that you get the right support. As we've already spoken about, it doesn't have as much kind of notoriety as other forms of abuse, so it's really vital that you get somebody who understands about covert abuse. So yeah, investing in self-care, that was a huge one for me. And it's not just doing yoga, making sure that you eat healthily. It's all looking after your mental health, working on the self-concept, as I was saying, also building your intuition and your instincts as well. And instincts ties into your body. It's kind of recognizing, what does my body say, what am I feeling in that situation. People talk about having butterflies and things. That might not be what you think it is. That might actually be a warning system telling you that you're not in safe company. I'm not saying that's always the case, but it's one of those things that when you become more connected to your body, you start to understand, what is it trying to tell me. And doing things like yoga, any kind of somatic exercise that keeps you in tune with your body is really, really helpful to build that connection. So yeah, it's not just a psychological and emotional thing with this type of abuse. It can affect you physically as well. So it's also worth bearing that in mind, that if you're with somebody and your physical health is declining, just to kind of put a note out there to people, there is a connection with that. So just bear that in mind as well. And as I say, kind of working on self-care it can really help to manage things that might be happening to you as a consequence of that. That's something for me that I did during the abuse and after it, and it helps me to build up the strength to sort of manage what was happening, alongside getting support as well. I don't want, obviously that's the most vital thing that I can say with this. But yeah, it's very much about, it's a holistic approach when it comes to something like this. And the most damaging thing about it is not knowing, not being sure about what's happening, the confusion around it. And it's so important that you have somebody that you can trust, that has some kind of understanding, because unfortunately what can happen is, because the person can be very unassuming, people might not necessarily believe that that's what you're experiencing. So yeah, I can't stress that enough. Self-care and reaching out to people that can be trusted, that if possible have a good understanding of what covert abuse is.
Yeah. And I mean, I love that you brought somatics into that, and it's a whole trusting. Trust comes into that hugely, and trusting what's going on in your body. And that can be really difficult with trauma. But it's also really important. You'll often hear things such as, you make my blood boil. That's often a fight or flight warning. So really love that. And I just wanted to say thank you again so much for being brave and coming on and sharing. But before we do go, there is one more thing, which is to share your poem. Are you ready to do that?
I am, yes, yeah.
The journey back to me. After so long, the paper cuts tapestried my skin. A quiet violence, layered and unseen. The journey back to myself, I didn't know where to begin. Silently, yet violently, your words permeated within. Your judgment, a false North Star, I followed into fog. Held captive in the mind, yet tethered to you for sustenance. I shrank to fit your comfort, doubted my every instinct. I watched my scaffolding crumble, brick by brittle brick. Until I mistook survival for love. You wore kindness like a cloak before others, measured, smiling, reasonable. They saw you and questioned me, because you broke me quietly. They called it a misunderstanding. But when I found the strength to leave, my healing truly began. Years of silence gave way to a rising voice, my own. I sifted through the wreckage, reclaimed my breath, my worth, my name. Now, I no longer search for light in the eyes of those who dimmed me. I carry it. I offer it. For those still doubting themselves in the aftermath of invisible war, I am proof you can rise.
Thank you for watching. Seriously, it means the world to me and our guests that you took the time to watch. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because it really does help the channel to grow. And equally, you won't miss what's coming next if you do that. The aim of this channel and what me and the guests are trying to do is we're trying to inspire, and we're also trying to give other people a sense of belonging. And at the very least, we're trying to make other people feel seen and heard. And that's our hope with this channel. If this video spoke to you anyway, then please do check out our other videos just here. We will catch you in the next episode.